Ciavelli Center is all lit up for this top 25 matchup here on Big Ten Plus between number 15 Iowa and number 10 Ohio State, alongside former four-time All-Big Ten gymnast Lexi Mattern. I'm Tyler Danberg, and Lexi, this is the start of the Big Ten dual meet season. A little bit of a change of pace from the non-conference quad meets.
Absolutely. It is a snowy day here in Columbus, Ohio. We are set for the first dual meet for both teams of the season. You're right, it's a change of pace, change of environment a little bit for both the teams. You have Iowa coming back from the West Coast to come back all the way to the Midwest, or closer to the East Coast, if you will, and you have the Buckeyes back at home for their third meet of the season. Both teams have yet to see a dual meet competition, so it's a change of pace for sure. We're going to be going back and forth. We're going to see each team head-to-head today, compare one routine against the next, going back and forth. It's going to be electric in here. Ohio State still sitting at top 10. We have Iowa in the top 15. Huge competition today.
Of course, you can see on the right side of your screen the overalls favor Ohio State 6-0 in their first two meets. And in those two meets, two defeats of SEC opponents as well as Rutgers. That was on Monday at Stegeman Coliseum in Georgia. So not only has Ohio State been able to defeat some top powers in college gymnastics, but they have been able to take on a Big Ten opponent in Rutgers, although it doesn't count on their conference record.
Correct. So while it doesn't count for their conference record, it does count for their confidence. So that is huge. They went and did a fantastic job in their home opener, and then they went down to Georgia and came out with the win. They went into the SEC. Winning in the SEC in any sport is a big deal. They went in the underdogs and beat the dogs and came home with a win, and they're going to come back home here against the Hawkeyes. We have the Hawkeyes and the Buckeyes. Hopefully we don't mix that up today, and I think we're ready to go.
A lot of eyes, literally and figuratively, are on this meet in the Big Ten. It's been a good weekend of college gymnastics, and we're happy to be a part of that on Big Ten Plus. Let's take a look at Iowa under head coach Larissa Libby in her 19th year. They come into this one 2-4 in two overall meets. Their first one was in the Super 16. They finished second. Then they were also out of the West Coast in the Wasatch Classic. They finished third behind Cal and Oregon State. What do you like about the Hawkeyes?
The Hawkeyes historically are a very strong program. We talked about this a little bit off camera before we got started. They are a loud team, both at home and on the road, and that's going to disrupt any home team or any away team. They come with confidence and class anywhere that they go, and their leotards are sparkly and they're ready to shine today. As they're getting ready to go on their first event on bars here, we're going to look for some dynamic lines, high-flying releases and stuck landings, and I'm sure they're going to give it to us. And I'm excited to watch them shine today.
And of course, we'll take a look at the bars rotation for Iowa. They'll be led off by Allison Zolke. And then here's a look at Ohio State's head coach, Meredith Polasiewicz, in her 6th year. And she's done wonders for this Ohio State program, up to 10th in the current top 25.
Absolutely. Meredith has really become a game changer. She's recruiting amazing athletes, and she's brought in a great coaching staff, and they mesh really well. The team chemistry is at an all-time high, and she is a force to be reckoned with here in Columbus, Ohio. And the girls, I mean, they're ready to go. They also have sparkly leotards on. I think everyone's just going to shine today. We're going to have one of those matchups where it's just going to see who's just a little bit better. And we're 3 meets into the season. This will be the 3rd meet into the season for both teams. The pre-meet jitters have probably come and gone, and now we're looking just to be as good as great can be on any given day. The training, the preseason, it's over with, and season is well underway.
A lot of sparkle, a lot of glitz, a lot of glamour, and we've got a good one coming up. Iowa will start on the uneven bars, and then Ohio State will start on the vault. And those sparkly leotards were actually designed by the head coach, Meredith Polasiewicz, for Ohio State. And let's go back to the season opening meet for Ohio State, as they hosted a quad meet and they set the highest season opening total score in program history to get the season started off with a bang.
Absolutely. It's very difficult to do in your season openers to have a very high score. Yes, it does help being at home. However, setting records in week 1 is just immaculate. They had a record-breaking season last year, coming off of all of those COVID protocols and restrictions. They went into last year just with open minds, open hearts, with a lot of training under their belt. And they came back this year. All of their seniors came back as a testament to this program that they had unfinished business. They set records last year, and then they opened up this season setting records again. So that just proves where they aim to go in the season that is still ahead of them.
And they brought in a strong freshman class anchored by Peyton Harris, the lone all-arounder for Ohio State this season.
Yes, Ohio State has quite a lot of depth this season, but Peyton Harris is the reigning Big Ten Freshman of the Week. That is a huge honor, especially coming out of week 2. It's huge for her and huge for the team as well. They, like I said, they have a lot of depth. They're super seniors, and they're back for a 5th year, and then everyone else in between. Everyone has a huge role to fill today, and it's going to be a tough meet.
Ohio State will start off on vault, Iowa on the bars for this opening dual meet of the conference season. Lexi, as a gymnast, how different are the dual meets compared to those quad meets that both these teams have dabbled in to start the campaign?
They're vastly different. The quad meets, they go very quickly. It's just you and your team on that event, and as soon as the gymnast before you has ended, the judges will deliberate. They'll give you your score, and the next gymnast will be up. Today we are going to go back-to-back, so there will be a little bit of a waiting game that neither one of these teams have yet to see this year. We're going to see one athlete from each team at a time. So that's going to give the judges time to turn around and kind of peek. It's also going to give the athletes time to turn around and peek, but there's a unsaid rule that, it's just you and your team, no matter if it's your team going or not. So hopefully everyone can stay within their team and get the job done.
On vault, it will be Nicole Riccardi to lead things off for Ohio State. Last Monday at Stegman Coliseum, they vaulted for a score of 48.725. What are they looking to improve on the vault today?
While they didn't have their highest score, they're looking to do great vaults. We're going to see a lot of this Yurchenko entry, which is a round-off back handspring. Here we're going to see it from Nicole, round-off back handspring, full twisting Yurchenko to a stuck landing. That is the momentum we want to see. We want to see that huge dynamic pop off the table to that chest elevated on the landing, control, and a smile at the end, which is what we just saw. Great lead off for Ohio State.
The junior from East Northport, New York, gets it started with a strong run in the leadoff position, and now Iowa will send out on the bars Allison Zolke.
Looks like there it is. Here we go. She's doing a transition back up to the high bar here. Beautiful cast handstand. The judges are really going to want to see those handstand straight lines, a little short on that blind full into a double back, stuck landing. Another great lead off.
She's coming off a season high 9.85, and the Washington, Wisconsin native sets the tone early for Iowa, and that's something that we were talking about coming into this meet for both squads. Setting the tone in that opening rotation is going to be important.
It is so important. You want to see the momentum build routine after routine. That first person that you see up is going to be your most consistent and very clean athlete. And then the lineup is going to build from there. We have Nicole Riccardi from Ohio State starting off with a 9.825, a great leadoff for Ohio State. We're looking for the scores to build and overall dynamics and momentum to build as well. Tori Vetter with another Yurchenko, full, small hop back, but again, her chest was elevated. She was dynamic in the air, good body lines. Again, that momentum is starting to build. It's what we want to see. Job well done.
Vetter looking to add on to that 9.825 from Riccardi. See her stick that and providing the consistency in the 2 through 5 spot.
Absolutely. That leadoff is essential, but then the 2 through 5 spot, we're going to have 6 athletes from each team present a routine, and we want to take those top 5 scores. So the judges are looking for the best possible scores, as well as the teams are as well. And we want to drop that lowest score to make the overall team score. So a 9.775 for Tori Vetter. Not a bad score at all.
So here on bars, it will be Ella Castellanos for the Hawkeyes.
Beautiful kip cast handstand into her straddled release there, and unfortunately does let go of the bar. Now this is when we start to see that momentum potentially shift. Unfortunately, she did come off the bar, which is a 5/10 deduction from her routine. She's gonna reach, hop back up, consult with her coaches here, hop back up and finish her routine, and we're looking for as close to perfection moving forward.
Lexi, when you have something like that happen, from your perspective, from where the Long Island transfer Ella Castellanos is right now, how do you look to adjust on the bars?
She's not going to want to make too many major adjustments. She's going to want to take a deep breath and just do the best she can moving forward. Unfortunately, this happens all the time. This is something that you train for, and you just put your best foot forward and move forward. This is not the first time she's fallen on a release, whether it's in practice or in a meet, and you just look to do better and move on. Great overshoot, transition back up to the high bar. We're going to see that cast handstand a little short there, unfortunately, but again, her body lines are nice and tight, gearing up for her dismount of a double layout. Small hop back, but that was a great finish. You saw it didn't let it phase her mentally. She was able to finish strong. It was a good way to finish and get that momentum kind of back on track for her team, and I'm sure they're hoping to look to drop that score. As we just talked about, we're going to have 6 athletes up, and only 5 scores will count.
Castellanos recovers on bars in her season debut. And now it's Sydney Jennings, the 5th-year senior.
Yurchenko full. She has one of the best Yurchenko fulls in NCAA gymnastics, but unfortunately, that was a huge hop back on her landing. We saw her stick one in warm-ups and couldn't just quite find the landing there. However, it is absolutely gorgeous in the air.
But in that 3rd spot, all you need to do is just keep holding.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely want to hold on, but Sydney Jennings is capable of getting a very, very high score. But it all comes down to her landing. Her entry and her flight is very, very well done. We just got to find that landing and strive for perfection each and every time.
41st career meet for Sydney Jennings. So she has a lot of experience.
That she does. And the team looks for her to be that veteran competitor. And a 9.8 on that vault. We're going to see it again here. Beautiful entry. See, nice tight body line. She looked for that landing, and unfortunately just had a little too much power.
Great shot there from our Big Ten Plus crew. You can see bottom left of your screen, Ohio State nearing that 30 mark already through a couple runs on the vault. That's one of their strong suits, 7th in the NCAA coming into this meet against Iowa. Off the table. And now on the bars, it will be Karina McSweeney for the Hawkeyes.
Beautiful start to her routine as she finishes that release. The Ginger, slight leg separation. However, she still is very much in control in that transition to the low bar, and she's back up on the high bar now. We want to see that cast handstand all the way up. Full twisting double back, slight hop back on the landing, but a beautiful dynamic routine for the Hawkeyes. Picks up that momentum and gets them back on track.
You can see her fired up as she exits the bars. What you notice about her transitions that really stuck out to you there?
She was very tight and in control the entire time. That was the vault from Jenna Levak. She did a full twisting on pike off. Again, a small hop back. One important thing to note about the vaults up until this point is that they had a start value of a 9.95, so not out of a perfect 10. Jenna's vault is that much more difficult that her vault actually starts from a 10.0, so it's a little bit more difficult, and we saw her execute it beautifully. She did have that small hop back, but overall a wonderful vault. That momentum is continuing to build for the Buckeyes in this first rotation.
Levak led the team in vault, finished 3rd overall down in Athens on Monday with a 9.825, and adding another strong run off the table. You see Levak, she adds another great presence. And there's that 9.825 for the sophomore out of Baltimore.
following Sydney Jennings' 9.8. This is going to be a tight meet. Both teams are pretty evenly matched. Ohio State, of course, coming off of some great wins, and they are clean and consistent, but they have to capitalize on consistently putting out their best routines. So while their scores may have been a little low last week, they still have to put their best foot forward. Same for Iowa. They're continuing to build this season, and we'll see what they got here next for their next athlete. Beautiful kip cast handstand. That was that right on top of the bar into this blind change. Straddled Jaeger into an overshoot. Huge connection there with a lot of difficulty. This is the body lines that judges want to see. The tip of her toes are strongly connected through her fingers into this double layout with a stuck landing. Huge routine. That was absolutely phenomenal. That was almost textbook. No major form breaks. Another look here at this beautiful dismount. This double layout dismount is so difficult to execute. And that full body extension, and she doesn't move one bit. So impressive. Peyton Harris, 1.5, twisting Yurchenko, small hop on that landing. This is that powerhouse freshman that we've been talking about nonstop since week 1. She's an incredible athlete. That is another 10.0 start value for the Buckeyes. Incredibly difficult. She actually has a blind landing, so as she's twisting, she has to open up, trust her training, and trust that the ground is going to be there at the right time. Another great executed vault.
So Harris on vault. LaPlante finishing up that strong run on bars, and Harris, for a freshman to be in the all-around position, how tough is that coming into your first year?
I would say that it is very difficult because it is a lot to place on an athlete's shoulder. However, gymnastics is a sport that you do the all-around every meet in club gymnastics, and then when you come to college, you do your best events. So she is a jack of all trades here. She's going to do all 4 events, which is very hard to do. Whereas in club, you have to do all 4 events. In college, you do not. You put your best athletes up. So for her to be able to be that good on every event that she has made her way into that lineup and earned that spot is huge as a freshman, especially with so many veteran athletes that Ohio State has.
So Iowa will send on bars. It appears to be
beautiful toe shoot to handstand. Into her release, we saw a slight leg separation there, but big air and control in these elements. She's transitioning back up to the high bar. Beautiful cast handstand, toe shoot blind full, very difficult, right into this double back. Small hop forward, but she covered it up pretty well. Again, a very dynamic routine. The Hawkeyes have started to gain that momentum back.
That's Adeline Kenlin getting a big ovation from her teammates to follow up Kendall LaPlante's 9.9 to pace the Hawkeyes.
The first 9.9 of the day.
Their low is Ella Castellanos with an 8.975, but the rest are at the 9.8 mark. And now we'll see Lexi Edwards.
She had a perfect score in the season opener. Another beautiful Yurchenko full small hop back, but the chest was up on the landing, and that is what the judges want to see. That's as good as it gets.
Edwards,
she could teach a vaulting clinic.
One of her trademarks is the vault.
That it is.
4th highest vault score in the country coming into today with a 9.925, and another emphatic finish off the table. We're talking about the consistency of Lexi Edwards. That's one of those aspects that really separates her.
Absolutely. For college gymnastics, you want to be as good as great can be every single day. Lexi Edwards is so great that she fights to be perfect every time she steps out on the competition floor, which is something that not a lot of athletes can do. Lexi Edwards is one of those athletes where you're going to put her in the talks of the Tom Brady's of the world, where you're looking for them to be great every single time that they touch the equipment. Back to the Hawkeyes here on bars. Starting off with a beautiful release in a piked position. Overshoot to handstand on the low bar. We saw her legs separate there. The judges want to see your feet glued together the entire time. So that will definitely be a deduction there. Beautiful free hip to handstand into a double layout. Very difficult. Small hop forward on the landing. But again, another dynamic routine for the Hawkeyes. I would say that fall did not faze them one bit.
Another freshman, Karina Munoz, gets it done, hailing out of New Jersey. And Munoz embraced by her teammates, as you can see the margin right now. It's pretty tight when you look at the team scores.
It definitely will be once they are not counting that unfortunate fall in that number 2 spot. But we're going to see that here. They finished very strong in this lineup. So we had a couple 9.8s, a 9.9 to count. Lexi Edwards finishing off the Buckeyes with a 9.85. Very solid scores for the Buckeyes. Definitely an improvement from the week before. Definitely wanting to clean up those landings and meets to come, but they have dynamic vaulters, no major form breaks, and that is what the judges want to see week after week after week, is that you are building on your execution and honing in on those landings. That's what wins championships, those tiny little details like the landings.
Peyton Harris and Lexi Edwards led the way with a 9.85 for Ohio State, and then on the bars, Kendall LaPlante with a 9.9 to pace the Hawkeyes. And there, as Lexi just mentioned, there's the update to the scores after that Castellanos fall.
Looks like the Hawkeyes have now taken the lead. We're going to see another routine here from the Hawkeyes here. This should be an exhibition routine. Means it doesn't count. However, it's just for practice. She's starting with a pike Diagra. Unfortunately, was a little close to that bar, but keeps her momentum going. Transitioning back up to the high bar here, looking to finish that last cast on top of the bar, which she does. Beautifully done. Gearing up for her dismount. Beautiful double layout. A few little hops back there on the landings, getting those jitters out, but she looked beautiful. Great job in the exhibition spot.
So that will be it for the opening rotation here at the Covelli Center. The exhibition, always a fascinating run through. How different is that compared to the first 6 legs of each rotation?
The exhibition spot is important because, as any coach will tell you, are only as strong as your weakest link, which means you need to be, that exhibition spot needs to be prepared to go in at any moment in time. If someone is hurt or sick or any unforeseen circumstance, that 7 spot becomes the fill-in. So they have to be strong and ready to go at any point in time. So Iowa has a beautiful routine that's ready to go, competition ready, which is what they need. So it's uber important. So while your score may not count today, it's great to know that you have another routine in your back pocket should the time come.
We'll flip-flop here on Big Ten Plus. Iowa to the vault, Ohio State to the bars. 0.05 separate the two Big Ten foes right now. Iowa, after one rotation, 49.2, and Ohio State with a 49.15. We'll see you on the other side as we go to the second rotation. You're watching Women's College Gymnastics on Big Ten Plus. Welcome back to Big Ten Plus as Iowa is clinging on to a tight lead over 10th-ranked Ohio State right now. Welcome back, everybody, alongside Lexi Mattern. I'm Tyler Damberg. And Lexi, what stuck out to you in that opening event?
Few huge things to note. Number one, Ohio State looked beautiful on the vault to start. They put really dynamic vaults up there, but where they let that score kind of get out of hand was their landing. So they're definitely going to be looking to clean up those landings, be more diligent about those tiny little details. But the real comeback here is Iowa. They had a huge fall in their number 2 spot, which can be detrimental for a lineup. And they didn't let it faze them. They got back up here and actually outscored Ohio State, which is huge. They're on the road, but they've been nothing but on the road this year. So they don't know what it feels like to be at home with their fans yet this year. And it is showing here at the Covelli Center today that they feel comfortable in somebody else's arena. And Ohio State is definitely going to have to settle down and focus on those details, which we've seen them do meet after meet. We saw it happen last year when they've maybe been the underdogs all meet here at home and then they come out with a win. It's not a new situation for them because they are so focused on their teammates and their routines. But Iowa coming to play We have a good meet on our hands here.
That we do, and of course Ella Castellano, she fell and finished under 9, but then Kendall LaPlante picked her up a 9-9 to lead the way for Iowa.
Absolutely incredible. That's what we're talking about, that momentum. While it is incredibly important, at any given time, you have those senior athletes that are just competitors. Even if you're new to the lineup or maybe even new to that program and you are a freshman, at the end of the day, these girls know how to compete, and that's what's here on the line today. We're gonna see Iowa start us off here on rotation number 2.
It'll be Gianna Masilla to lead things off.
Looking at her, Yurchenko full. Not as high off the table as we saw some of Ohio State's vaults. She did have a hop back on her landing, but she had beautifully clean lines. Again, those are the things that the judges are looking for. The dynamics off the table, good body lines, and control in that landing. Great lead off for Iowa.
And for Ohio State, it will be Emma Pritchard to get things going on the uneven bars. You talked about landings, Lexi, for the vault. Will landings off the bars be just as important?
Yes, absolutely, as well as her line. She was a little short on that first handstand, but that Ginger was absolutely gorgeous. Great overshoot. Transitioning back up to the high bar here. Beautiful line in that cast handstand, blind full into a double back. That is a very clean landing. Small hop, but in control. Wonderful lead off for Ohio State. They're going toe-to-toe.
We've seen a good head-to-head start to this dual meet. And that was Emma Pritchard. Opened up her first 2 meets with a 9.775 each, looking to try and set a new season high. And now you'll see Allison Zolke, the junior.
A 9.625 for her teammate before her. We're really looking at scores to be above a 9.8, especially with the caliber of teams that we're looking at today. While scores are all up to the judges' discretion based off the performance that they are seeing, you're going to want to see those 9.8 plus scores, 9.8 being good, 9.9 being great, and anything below that, obviously, at a top 15 team, you want to see the 9.8 pluses, and let's see what we're going to have here from the Hawkeyes. That was a front entry to a tuck half off, a soup tuck off. Incredibly difficult. We're not going to see a lot of those. She's coming into the vault table blind, so she has to make sure that she has the correct spacing, great block off the table, and a good landing. Absolutely incredible.
You talk about her coming in blind. Now this new rule of the sidelines off the vault, how does that factor in where you might not be able to really locate where you come off the table?
So she's coming into the horse blind. She's actually able to see the ground a little differently. So unfortunately though, if the entry's a little off, she will land a little off. But we're gonna watch here this beautiful bar routine. Huge release move. We're following beautiful lines. She has such a flow going. Bar routine should flow like a river and have very few down points. She's on top of the bar. Her pirouetting is electric. Stuck landing. I've never seen her do a more perfect bar routine in a meet setting. I'm speechless.
An impressive start to the meet for the freshman. Peyton Harris at a 9.85 on the vault. And then you see her stick it in her second rotation of the meet.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I told you I was speechless. I'm just sitting there watching the replay.
What sets a good bar routine from the rest?
It really is the details. You want to see those cast handstands hit the top and kind of pause. Those are kind of like the turns in a river, if you will. You want to see the routine flow from one handstand to the giants, each element flowing softly and fluidly, and she did that. Another Yurchenko full for Iowa. She had a hop back and a step there. She was saluting the judges. You want to minimize those foot movements. As soon as your feet hit the ground, the judges don't want to see the move. They want to see the chest level with the vaulting horse, and they want to see your feet planted. So the more times that your feet move, unfortunately, the more deductions they are going to take. While she had a very dynamic vault and she was high up in the air, they want to see you find the landing and be in control.
That was Kendall LaPlante, who had the big bar routine, coming off a season-high 9.8 on the vault. And now Lexi Edwards will get the go-ahead on bars.
She's a very dynamic bar worker. Beautiful cast handstand into a toe shoot, into this release that she just floats from one bar to the next. Incredibly difficult to do. Beautiful pirouette on top of the bar. Those are those tiny details that the judges are looking for that just prove, hey, I'm really good at gymnastics. Again, you're watching that blindfold finish perfectly on top of the bar into this double back. A little short on that landing, but she covered it up very, very well. You can't take off anything that she does on the bar. That landing was just the tiniest little hop. Ohio State knows what they needed to do to come back, just to put good routines out there on the floor, and they're leaving no room for error right now. Back to the vault. Beautiful Yurchenko full. That was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. You saw the dynamic block off of the table from her hands. Good, clean twist in the air. Her chest was up on the landing while she did have a hop back. The dynamics were absolutely beautiful to watch.
Was Karina Munoz, the freshman. So some first years making an impact early on, and her, and then Peyton Harris, who in her first rotations has really came along nicely for Meredith Polasiewicz.
Freshmen are important to any team. They are your future. Getting them into a lineup spot or even those exhibition spots as early as possible really give them the confidence to lead the team when they are on the latter end of their career. Being a junior or a senior, that's when you become the leader and that strong competitor that your team feeds off of. And to see freshmen like Peyton Harris just kind of saying, hey, I'm here, watch me, I'm great, and I deserve this spot. You know, the upperclassmen love it. They're like, yeah, you are the future. So for any team, the Hawkeyes, the Buckeyes, any team, especially in the Big Ten, they have incredible talent that just got here. They're the little babies, but they're doing so incredible. And the Big Ten really is notorious for that.
Making their presence known, no doubt about it.
Tori Vetter was a very strong freshman last year. Unfortunately, her season was cut short, and now we're just getting her back. Huge Tkachev. Looks like her foot swiped the bar there, but a beautiful overshoot to handstand. Beautiful cast handstand. She's gearing up for her dismount here. Full twisting double back. Stuck landing. Incredible. Incredible dynamic routine. The Buckeyes are happy. We're gonna watch this dismount again. Good clean lines. Her feet are pointed, knees are tucked in, her chest is up, and her feet don't move.
The Hilliard-Davidson High School product, Tori Vetter, lands off the dismount, and the Buckeyes, strong start off the bars. Peyton Harris finished with a 9.875, and now we go back to the vault.
That was a full twisting layout. I can't even say how hard that is, because the physics behind that vault is so difficult to get your body where it needs to be and then to land as strong as she just landed. Absolutely incredible. She's getting a huge hug from Larissa Libby, their head coach. Wow, we're gonna watch this again here. That entry, she goes right in sideways, then twists her body all the way around. Look at how stoic that face is. She knows that she just nailed it.
Start value definitely at 10 there.
That it is, and for good reason. One of the hardest vaults we'll see today.
A physics-defying vault performance there for the Michigan State transfer, Linda Zivit.
Incredible.
She came into this meet tied for 23rd in vault average with 9.88.
I would say that, and there it is, the 9.9. Well deserved.
So the Hawkeyes hold 2 9.9s today. The one on bars with LaPlante.
Yes.
And now on vault with Zivit. And here's Ohio State's Nicole Riccardi on bars.
She is a very dynamic bar worker. We're gonna see some high flying release moves from her. Very dynamic. Here we go.
She was second on the team on Monday in bars performance.
Beautiful cross handstand into her release here. Huge extension. The judges want to see fully extended arms when you catch the bar after you release it. And that is what she gave them. Her feet are glued together. She has that straight line from her fingertips to her toes. This last cast handstand is so important into that Stalder, into this double back dismount. Sticks the landing. Textbook. Absolutely textbook. I'm not sure what the judges wrote down there because I don't have a single thing.
Riccardi last year had 5 scores of 9-9 or better. Perhaps she tries to put herself on the right track.
Looking at this dismount again. Chest is up, control. That's what we talked about. When as soon as your feet land, the judges don't want to see them move. Yurchenko full. Wow.
The anchor is 2-time All-American Jerquavia Henderson, only the 3rd in program history to be a multiple All-American selection. And you see there the embrace from Larissa Libby. What stuck out to you on that vault?
She came in hard and fast. She got the huge block off of her hand. We're gonna see it again. This is that block off the table, and she's just staring at the ground waiting for it to come because she's floating out of air. Absolutely gorgeous. She finds the landing and a 9-9. She's following a 9-9. We're gonna see what, and there it is, the 9-9.
Now here's Colby Miller looking to follow Nicole Riccardi. You see there, tied a career high 9.95 last meet against Georgia, and of course the bar is something that Colby Miller definitely excels in.
That she does. She is the reigning Big Ten bar champ, and within good reason. She is quite a captivating athlete to watch here on the bars.
She also had a 9.95 to win the Big Ten title on the uneven bars. She coming in on the bars score-wise.
We have Tori Vetter 9.725 from 2 routines ago, and then we saw Lexi Edwards. Oh, I am so sorry. We saw Nicole Riccardi then after Tori Vetter. So now we're gonna anchor this out with Colby Miller. Beautiful cast handstand to start, into a toe shoot to handstand. Beautiful release. Again, that extension from your toes to your hands is textbook. Transitioning all the way up to the high bar. One last cast handstand, finishes perfectly on top of the bar. Gearing up for this dismount, double layout, stick. And that is why she is the reigning Big Ten bar champ. And she is following a 9.95 from Nicole Riccardi. That's as close to perfect as the judges are going to give today. That's our first 9.95 of the day. And if they gave that a 9.95, as perfect as it was, I'm not really sure what they're taking off on Colby's here. Just one perfect routine after the next. You saw Coach Monahan there throw his fist up in the air like, this is great. One last vault from Iowa. Another dynamic Yurchenko full. Large hop back on the landing, but again, her chest was up. Very dynamic vault. Again, one of those exhibition routines, or vaults in this case, that you want to put in your back pocket should you ever need it, and that was very nice.
That second rotation was a good one, Lexi. Linda Zivit, Jerquavia Henderson rounded out the 2 final gymnasts on the vault for Iowa, finishing with 9.9s, and then Ohio State on the bars. Nicole Riccardi and 9.95, and now we play the waiting game on Colby Miller's final score.
A waiting game it is for this reigning Big Ten bar champ with a 9.925, and that's why she's the bar anchor.
And the exhibition will be Alexis Hankins,
who has been in the bar lineup before. She's put up huge scores. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she's put up 9.9s on this event in the past, and she is a great addition to this bar lineup. They are very deep on this event. Again, that extension coming out of the release was beautiful. Unfortunately, does cast over the bar. We're talking about how important hitting the top of a cast handstand is, because if it is short, you're going to get points taken off, or tenths in this case, taken off. But if you are just the slightest bit over, you're on the ground and it's a half a point off. So it's a fine line that you're following there as she transitions back to the low bar. Gearing up for her dismount now. There's that cast handstand you want to see right on top of the bar. She's going to end with a double layout. Small step forward.
So that will be it for the second rotation. Alexis Hankins rounds it out on bars. She was the 7th in the order for the exhibition. We'll see her on beam, though. Eventually, she'll be in that 2 position. But that second rotation, we saw a little bit of everything on the vault for Iowa and then on bars as well for Ohio State.
We saw everything, and again, this is the environment we expected. We expected them to go toe-to-toe, head-to-head with the scoring, but we are seeing excellent gymnastics put forth here today from these 2 Big Ten teams, and this is what Big Ten competition is about. Ohio State taking back this lead, leading by a few tenths here. They can't rest on their laurels, though.
98.55 to 98.275. Another tight rotation. To the third we go on Big Ten Plus. Stick around. We'll be right back with you. You're watching Women's College Gymnastics on Big Ten Plus. Welcome back for the third rotation on Big Ten Plus. I'm Tyler Danberg. She's Lexi Mattern. We're also pleased to be joined by our fantastic crew, led by Marco Fragale and Holly Wintering. Also joining us, Frank Saldana Moreno, Ethan Fulkerson, Austin Macheni, and Riley Rotkamp. So Lexi, as we head into the third rotation, Iowa will go to the floor, the Buckeyes to the beam. What do you need to see from both squads? Let's start off with Ohio State.
On beam, what you want to see is not momentum. Well, yes, momentum. However, you want to see rhythm. From start to finish, you want to see the ballet technique kind of kick in a little bit. You want to see the artistry and the personality of the athletes come out. And on the second half of these collegiate gymnastics meets is where you get to see the most personality. You're going to see Ohio State with the smiles and that, dog eat dog. You have to hone in almost perfectly on the beam. My dad, who was my coach, always said, she who hits beam wins. It's going to take 6 athletes on their A game today for them to come out with a fantastic beam score to try to help them win this meet. You're going to move to the floor exercise, and the Hawkeyes are known for this event. It is one of their best. They are dynamic, they are captivating, and they really feed into that ballet and artistry and technique that you want to see. We're going to start off here with Hannah on the beam, showing a beautiful display of strength and flexibility that is uber difficult. Beautiful full turn. That full turn, while is quite an easy skill, is a requirement, but can get some athletes tripped up, but she did it with ease. Front aerial into a back handspring, stuck. You don't want to see the bobbles and the balance checks. You want to see their feet land, stay planted, and their arms glued to that position. Beautiful switch half to beat jump. We're going to see a few elements connected together, whether that's acro to jumps or leaps to jumps, and it is very important that they stay fluid and connected together, because without that connection, they lose start value and difficulty. She's moving through this beam routine as if she is walking on the ground, which is what the judges want to see. She's going to end with a gainer pike off the end and a stuck dismount. Beautiful beam routine.
The patience, the dismount, yes. The stick from Hannah Oliveros, the junior from Streamwood, Illinois.
Take another look at this dismount here. Perfect. She saw the ground, picked out that landing and said, hey, my feet aren't going to move. And they didn't. Great start for the Buckeyes.
And Iowa will debut on floor with Aubrey Nick. She comes into this one, her 22nd career meet, had appeared solely on the floor until this year.
You see her teammates dancing behind her there, ready to have some fun. Front handspring, front double full.
Little disco theme there.
Absolutely, she's having fun, playing into that personality like we just talked about. We haven't seen their personalities come out yet, just the camaraderie and family aspect of each of these teams. So it's nice to see her teammates behind her dancing, having a good time as she executes this floor routine very well.
These back-end rotations of the meet, is it more so, Lexi, about the entertaining aspect of it more than the execution, or is it a little bit of both?
It is both. We saw the powerhouse at the beginning with vault and the strength of bars. And we're going to get into seeing all of that in each routine that we have moving forward, whether that's beam or floor. You have to give the power, but you also have to give the perfect execution as well. It's definitely harder. Finishing up that great leadoff for Iowa there. She had dynamic tumbling, a little bit of difficulty on her landings and a few form breaks, but overall a great start to this floor rotation for the Hawkeyes.
Back over to beam, Alexis Hankins, who competed on bars in the exhibition. She'll get the go on the beam, but one more look.
That second tumbling pass, that was a front handspring 1.5 into a back pike. She did all forward tumbling passes, which is not something that you see often, but she executed it very well.
Judges still looking over that beam score from Hannah Oliveros. But it definitely has to be fun to watch on the floor routines to see how stylistically different each team can be, because you have a lot more freedom on floor.
Yes, absolutely. The freedom is there. You also have a lot more space. The floor is 44 by 44 and the beam is only 4 inches wide. So you don't have a lot of room on the beam. While it is 16 feet long, you only have 4 inches across to try to get in those dance elements as well as your acro. We're having a little bit of a judges conference to deliberate that first score and first routine from Ohio State, which leaves Alexis Hankins to stay focused on the sidelines.
Sometimes for a gymnast, is this tougher when you have those judges conferences and you have to play the waiting game?
Absolutely, and it's like that because this athlete was ready to go 10 minutes ago. She's been ready this entire meet for this event, and now she has to wait until someone says, okay, now it's your turn. Judges look like they're getting ready to go again. The score has been flashed. The green flag has been raised. She takes a deep breath, and we're going to start this second beam routine for Ohio State. Starting off with a smile. Starting off with this full turn. Beautifully done. You're seeing a little bit of their personalities come out slowly but surely. With the smiles, beginning acro, back handspring, layout, step out, stuck landing again, her feet didn't move, arms are glued. Kick over, a little bobble there, but she stays on the beam, which is important, and recovers nicely.
And a 9.725 on the beam on Monday.
Split quarter. Landing sideways on that beam is really tough because your feet hang over both the front and the back, so if you're a little bit off, it can definitely give you some shakes there, but she was solid as a rock. Gearing up for her dismount here, which is very difficult. A double twisting layout there, sticks the landing. Great routine for Hankins.
So after the judges conferred and said Hannah Oliveros scored a 9.8, Alexis Hankins follows it up. She's appeared on the floor as well, but she's been consistently on the beam, and a consistent routine here.
Absolutely, the Buckeyes look strong. It's important to note that bobbles and wobbles can happen, but again, when we're talking about getting into the postseason, you don't want to see those. But being able to have a small little bobble and then to finish it up as well as she did with a stuck landing, it means that those little bobbles and wobbles aren't phasing her, that they are trained for greatness, and the little mistakes don't phase them.
So now here's Allison Zolke, second routine for her today and second rotation for her with a little bit more of that lyrical style that you were mentioning before on
Yes.
floor.
Beautiful front double full to a very controlled landing. You see her smile there at the end, getting into the more technical part of this choreography. Larissa Libby and her team do a beautiful job of encompassing that compulsory gymnastics in their routines and showing it off beautifully. A 1.5 front layout. They are going to captivate an audience and tell a story in their dance. They're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the ballet and the lyrical dance element. And they look gorgeous doing it, and they are known for this. Every year, time after time, you have these incredible performances. Her teammates are behind her 100%. Beautiful switch ring. Not quite hitting that 180, but beautiful lines nonetheless. You're looking for that 180, that straight line from toe to toe.
And this is Bailey Libby, the daughter of the 19th year head coach Larissa Libby on floor instead of Zolke, who was second on beam, and she will be.
Front 1.5.
It's pretty cool to see the family connections as well with this team.
Absolutely.
Mother and daughter there, Larissa
Very
and Bailey
special
Libby.
connection.
What'd you see from that routine that you liked from Bailey Libby?
She's showing off her beautiful lines and technique throughout the entire routine. And it showed through her tumbling and both her dance, so she has that double element there, which is absolutely gorgeous. We're gonna go to beam with Peyton Harris here, this powerhouse freshman, starting off with a beautiful switch leap straddle quarter. Again, landing sideways can be very tricky, but she does it effortlessly. That's the name of the game for beam. It's making everything look effortless and easy, even though I know how difficult it is to get out here and make it look easy. It is definitely not easy. I would love to see just about anyone try their hand at this. And here she is again, front aerial, back tuck, making it look that easy. Her feet don't move, she's smiling. She's gonna make eye contact with the judges there like, hey, I am not afraid of you.
What are those situations of just looking the part?
She doesn't look the part, she does the part, and she does it very, very well. Beautiful round off double twisting dismount, small hop back. But she is one of those little girls that just comes to play. And you're watching her become a force to be reckoned with, not only for this Ohio State team, but in the NCAA. Another look at that dismount there. She spots the end of the beam like a veteran athlete would, which is super impressive. A 9.5 for Bailey Libby. As we move on to the next Hawkeye floor routine.
And that leads the way for Iowa, 9.85 for Libby, 9.8 for Aubrey Nick.
Beautiful double back to a clean landing. This is where we're gonna get into the dynamics. These floor routines are going to build with increasing of difficulty. And we're just gonna see one better routine after the next. That's what all the coaches are hoping for. It's what the judges are looking for as well. Beautiful dance combination there. She's hitting that 180 from toe to toe. It's a gorgeous routine for the Hawkeyes.
You can see in the bottom of your screen, this is the Michigan State transfer, Linda Zivit, on floor.
1.5 to a back layout, step out. She's slamming the ground there. Commanding attention from both the judges and this packed Covelli Arena. I'm impressed.
She won 3 event titles last year, tying for the vault title at the Super 16s to start the season. And a strong run on floor for the senior out of Manhattan, Illinois.
Very impressive. We're gonna head back to the beam here for Sydney Jennings. She will be following a 9.875 from her teammate Peyton Harris. Sydney Jennings, again, a 5th-year senior, veteran competitor for this Buckeye team.
lot of super seniors and fifth-year seniors for Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Which adds to that depth.
Yes, a team needs depth. They thrive on depth. Beautiful full turn for Sydney Jennings. Starts her acro series here. Back handspring, swing through to a side aerial. Beautiful. I wonder if the people at home can hear the fans as she finishes that split jump straddle quarter, or excuse me, straddle half. Incredibly difficult doing a straddle jump and turning because your legs are going one direction, your body's going another way. She's going into this dismount, sticks the landing. Incredible. Ohio State building and building and building one routine after the next.
I'm sure those at home, Lexi, were probably able to hear the crowd a little bit more after she sticks that landing, as you mentioned.
That's what you want to see. You want to see the stuck landings. You can see the determination in every single one of these athletes' eyes. They're here to win, here to compete.
And here is Karina Munoz for the Hawkeyes. Linda Zivit now has the highest floor score, 9.875.
Again, this electrifying tumbling, captivating the audience, getting into the fun dance elements. Her teammates dancing behind her. It's a party. Beautiful leaps. Again, the 180 degrees, not leaving any room for error for these judges to take deductions. It's important to note here that also in the choreography, the judges are looking for you to be in control of your entire body. They want to see your toes being pointed, your fingers are in connection with the rest of your body. Beautiful double pike to a stuck landing. Teammates cheering her on. Would you say this is jungle-themed music?
I would probably say it definitely gives off that vibe.
It's giving sassy Tarzan. I kind of like it. Making eye contact with her teammates there. She finishes an electrifying routine for her Hawkeye family.
The party continues for both these teams, and that sassy Tarzan routine from Karina Munoz will give way on floor for Adeline Kenlin. But first, back to beam for the Buckeyes.
Sydney Jennings with a 9.85 as we're taking another look at this front tuck step out through to double back. Very strong in her landings, showing a lot of spatial awareness, finishing each tumbling pass with ease. Emma Pritchard up next for the Buckeyes.
Peyton Harris leading the way in 9.875 for Ohio State on beam. But now with Pritchard in that 5 spot, how crucial are these final two gymnasts in the beam rotation, and Pritchard and then Ella Hodges?
We have two excellent beam workers at the end of this lineup. Their teammates have set them up to garner really high scores if they do the routine that they are capable of doing. We want to see the routines build in not only difficulty and consistency, but also by the scores. As viewers, you want to see that. As coaches, they want to see that, and the judges want to see the harder and more seasoned, the harder skills and the more seasoned athletes get bigger scores, because the harder the routine, the more difficult it is, but also more room for error. So they're going to earn higher scores by default. But that also means that they have to execute them at that much higher of a level as well. So you want to see as perfect can get. We're also watching another judges conference take place. This is the second one from Ohio State.
You could just see there in the middle of your screen, Lucas Wasson, the assistant coach for Ohio State, Meredith Polisivic, talking it over with the judges. So do you get the sense that the beam scoring could be definitely pretty tight?
It's important to make sure that the scores are correct for any team. Beautiful hitch kick into side aerial. Had a lot of power coming out of that side aerial. Beautiful full turn for Emma there. Staying in control is important. Gearing up for an Afro series here. Back handspring, layout, step out, stuck, and she keeps moving. That is the rhythm that we want to see. From one element to the next, one dance element to the next, that you're staying in rhythm and focused. Switch lead, straddle quarter, and she keeps moving. She's showing her expertise of the event and executing it at a very high level, gearing up for her dismount. Round off, 1.5, small hop forward on the landing, but a beautiful routine, and it's very difficult to have to sit and wait for the judges to deliberate, and then she puts forth a beautiful routine.
She's played a lot of roles in her career at Ohio State, Lexi. She was an all-arounder 2 years ago, then on beam last year, and then she's done a little bit of everything this year, but the beam has been the one constant rotation for her.
Absolutely, and she is one of those athletes that you call a beam worker. She's just steady as can be. As we're going back to Iowa here on the floor.
Here's Adeline Kenlin.
Her handspring front double full. She just steps out of it and just goes about her choreography. It was absolutely gorgeous. That straight line, the body lines, gorgeous.
She's coming off a career high 9.9 on the floor in the Wasatch Classic, in which Iowa placed third.
Switch lead. Her skills and tumbling flow effortlessly into her choreography. Something that's very difficult to do. There's no break in timing in her routine. One and a half to front layout. Again, just flowing right back into that choreography with ease and grace.
And Kenlin closes it out. She'll give way for the anchor in Jaquavia Henderson, but Kenlin, she's definitely made her mark in Iowa City. We'll probably talk about that.
Brought it all the way here to Columbus.
That indeed. So Ella Hodges to do the honors and anchor on beam, but one more look at Kenlin.
1.5 to front layout, effortless.
We'll talk more about Kenlin when she goes to the balance beam.
Yes.
She had a big year last year on beam.
That is a jump, switch, split into a shuttle 3/4. Incredibly difficult for Ella Hodges here as she opens up her beam routine as the anchor. They call her Elegant Ella. Back handspring, layout, step out, stuck. She said it's hot in here because I'm on fire.
It is much warmer in here than it is outside.
That is very true. The snow outside. Thank goodness it's an indoor sport, right?
Absolutely.
Gainer layout, step out with perfect form. Doesn't move an inch. Gearing up for this dismount. 1.5, stuck. She's jumping there. The team is happy. Incredible beam routine for Miss Elegant Ella Hodges.
Elegance from the senior, coming off an event title in Georgia, a 9.9 with a career high. Looking to try and set that.
Is chanting 10. I may be a little biased, but I think the judges should give it to her. That was an incredible routine. Incredible form and display of both technique and artistry from the Buckeyes. We're gonna go back to floor where we are about to get a performance of a lifetime.
Jaquavia Henderson, two-time All-American, adds a lot of presence on the floor. This is definitely one of her best rotations in her career in Iowa City.
Opening tumbling pass here with a huge full twisting double back. Does take a hop out of it. However, I'm not so sure how she's expected to stick that when she is as high in the air as she is. Giving us personality.
She has the school record with a 9.975 on floor.
As she should. Those leaps were absolutely beautiful. Again, hitting that 180. I can't stress how important that is. Without that 180, the skills aren't worth as much. You see how relaxed Larissa Libby looks in the background here, watching one of her veteran athletes do what she does best, and that's perform. Front tuck step out through to double back. Does land a little short on that double back, but again, high flying, dynamic, clean gymnastics is what we just got overall from the Hawkeyes.
Looking to stay consistent with her 9.9 average on floor. Anchors it out for the Hawkeyes, and we await the score on Hodges on beam. Ella Hodges with a masterful performance as well.
Looks like the score just came in. It is a 9.925 for Ella Hodges. We are going to see an exhibition routine from JoJo Warga here. She is a beautiful beam workout. She actually has scored a 9.9 on this event in the past. JoJo has very difficult elements in her beam routine. Front aerial there. She does have a little bit of a balance check, but you're seeing how elegant her gymnastics can be. Front aerial, through to back handspring, getting that acro series connection, and she just moves forward with her routine.
She had that 9.9 in her college debut.
Yes, she did, which is a wonderful score to start off your career debut, of course, but sometimes that can be hard to follow. Beautiful kick over. You can see how much control she has in her body on this event. She's gearing up for her dismount. Gainer pike off the end, small step forward.
What goes through a gymnast's mind when they're gearing up for that dismount? Sorry to interrupt there.
Oh, you are fine. Gearing up for the dismount can be difficult because you're just one step closer to the end. You're getting off the beam. So the thing that they tell you to do, stay on the beam, stay on the beam, stay on the beam, and then you're that close to just getting off on purpose, which is very difficult to rein in those emotions. But all season athletes will tell you that it is just important to get off the beam well as it is to stay on the beam well.
Nasilla, the freshman, will be the exhibition floor exercise.
We're talking about how important depth is for a team. You just saw a very impressive Hawkeye floor rotation here. Getting into a little Billie Eilish here.
Was not expecting that transition from Bad Guy into the remix.
No, I was not either. But again, the Hawkeyes are known to keep you on your toes. Front layout, front full. Unfortunately, not the landing that she wanted. It looked like she was just a little off center there. We've talked about this a few times. Gymnastics is a game of physics. You got to be dead on every single time or else physics will not be on your side.
Nasilla on floor for the first time in over 2 weeks. Scored above a 9 in the Super 16 to start off the season.
Double back to land perfectly. Ends her routine very well. I'd say that routine has a lot of potential for the Hawkeyes.
And it ends on a high note.
That it does.
And we will go into this fourth and final rotation on a high note as well. It's tight, it's a dual meet, it's the start of the conference season. Before we go to break, Lexi, what are you looking for in this fourth and final rotation?
Ohio State obviously has just a little lead, a little more than a tenth over the Hawkeyes going into one last rotation. But this is Ohio State's home arena. They are electrifying on the floor exercise. We're going to see Claire Gagliardi round her team out on the floor exercise, but we're also going to get to see the Hawkeyes try to come back to win it on beam. A very hard event to end on. I think any gymnast will tell you the worst event to end on is beam because it is just that difficult. However, the Hawkeyes are a very dynamic team. They are clean, precise, and trained well. They are prepared. They've been on the road this entire season, so they are ready.
And they will have Adeline Kenlin to anchor on beam. She finished as the runner-up in the NCAA on beam last year. So Kenlin and the Hawkeyes will go out on the beam. And Ohio State will look to protect home floor when we return on Big Ten Plus. Fourth and final rotation here in Columbus. Ohio State clinging on to that lead that you see on the bottom left corner of your screen. And here's the order on floor for Meredith Polisiewicz and the Buckeyes.
I'm excited for this last rotation, especially because we're going to see the Hawkeyes have a chance to fight back against Ohio State in their home arena on an event that they do so well. I want to see good gymnastics. I want to see good, clean, safe gymnastics. I want to see a fight to the finish. This is, when we're, we want to compare it to football. This is the fourth quarter. It's coming down. Everything counts. Anything can happen. It's a game. We have ourselves a game.
You said before we went to break, Lexi, about how most teams usually don't want to start but then end on the beam and close it out like that. What makes the beam, especially in that final rotation, such a tough pressuring apparatus?
The beam is tough strictly because it is 4 inches wide, 16 feet long, and 4 feet off of the ground. If you are at your most nervous, even if you are the most prepared, no one's going to want to go stand on the curb next to moving cars. Next time you're really nervous about something, go stand on the curb next to the street and let me know if you can stand there for a long period of time, let alone walk up and down it without falling off. It's just that simple. It is difficult in itself, and then you add the pressure, and then you add the fact that these teams are competitive. This is conference play for them. Everyone wants to come out with a win. They have everything riding on this last event. It is a very difficult event to win, but like I said before, she who hits beam wins, and the Buckeyes hit beam. Can Iowa do the same?
The chance to go to 1-0, it all comes down to this, and getting it started on beam is Jaquavia Henderson.
The competitor that she is. She's a beautiful athlete. Starting off with a full turn, effortless. Back handspring, layout, step out, step. She's unfazed by the music, the fans.
You just have to block that out?
Yes, absolutely. Switch leap shuttle quarter. I would argue that a lot of athletes don't hear anything when they are up on that beam. The focus level, it's like a horse with blinders. You're just going to work. Double back dismount, small hop on the landing. I can't even talk about how difficult that dismount is. It is one of the hardest to do. You're going to see people in the Olympics do that dismount. That is how difficult it is. And she did it with ease. Huge hugs from her teammates. Awesome start for the Hawkeyes.
Henderson had a bounce back week last week with a 9-8, tied for 10th in the Wasatch Classic. And now we'll get our first look at the Buckeyes on the floor. And all of these exercises and routines are choreographed by the head coach, Meredith Polisiewicz.
Yes, they are. Savannah Gonzalez going to open us up here with a beautiful double pike stuck landing. Coach Meredith puts a lot of time and effort into making sure these routines fit her athletes' personalities and the athlete that they are that year. It could change from year to year. We're watching Savannah be the leadoff again this year. Front layout, front full, again a stuck landing.
Paula Civic said that the exercises and the routines on the floor, putting those together is what she enjoys the most. That and putting together the leotards and the uniforms, that's what she loves about the job.
She does. But I would also argue that while Meredith loves all of the fun aspects of physically doing, I would say that she loves that she's able to develop these athletes to be, you know, young women as well. And she does a good job at it. Ending with a 1.5 front layout, huge. Savannah just having fun.
Her name is Savannah Gonzalez, and she opens it up on floor for Ohio State.
I like what you did there. Incredible start for the Buckeyes. This is what I'm talking about, that head-to-head competition and an amazing leadoff, starting with a 9-9 for the Hawkeyes as we await Savannah Gonzalez's score for the Buckeyes. Back to the beam. Back handspring. Layout, step out. Oh, small bobble check there, but executed beautifully in the air. It's very difficult to do 3 acro elements right in a row because you can just end up just a little bit off, and she was, but she came back so beautifully. Beautiful full twisting gainer off the side for her dismount. Hawkeyes are having a beautiful display of technique and artistry on the beam.
A 9-9 for Henderson gives way to Allison Zolke. And we'll get the score from her in a moment. Back over to floor for Tori Vetter. Vetter last time out, Lexi, she had a season best 9.85 on the floor to go with her career 9.85 on bars. So she's coming off a lot of momentum in her favor.
Absolutely. Tori Vetter is another one of those athletes that just has a lot to show in her career, and she's looking just to get better and better week after week. And that's what any coach can hope for. She's going to pick away at those little details and just be as perfect as she can be each and every day. And I would bet that by the end of her career here at Ohio State, she will have made a wonderful name for herself. Score coming in for Savannah Gonzalez at a 9.775.
And we are deadlocked, as you can see on your screen, at 157.55.
While I'm not 100% sure where the discrepancy in the scores are coming from, Coach Paula Civic also looks a little confused. I thought that was a beautiful routine for the Buckeyes, but then again, I'm not a judge.
So now we get a look at Vetter, and Iowa regains the lead after further scoring.
Allison with a 9.8 for the Hawkeyes. Tori Vetter just starting the second routine for the Buckeyes here in the final rotation. Opening tumbling pass at a double back to a stuck landing. Again, the judges want to see your knees glued tight together, your toes are pointed, your chest up on that landing, and your feet don't move other than to show that in-control lunge. Beautiful leap series by Tori. Again, looking for that execution, the straight leg from toe to toe, showing the flexibility off. We're gonna pick it up a little bit here in her music. Got the crowd clapping behind her as well as her teammates.
Everybody cheering on Tori Vetter. The redshirt freshman out of Hilliard getting ready.
For another telling pass here. Front layout, front 1.5, stuck landing. They are in control and on a roll. Way to go, Tori Vetter.
What about that routine stuck out to you?
Everything that she did, she was in control and locked in on her landings. Those are the details that the judges want to see. We're going to talk about details a lot at the collegiate level due to the fact that it comes down to those little details because these athletes are just that good. You see her absorb the landing and hit a very strong lunge after her tumbling pass. As we move back to Iowa on the beam, she's following a 9.8 from her teammate Allison before her. Back handspring layout step out. Again, another small bobble check, but moving fluidly through the rest of her routine there. Again, another bobble check on that full turn. She has gorgeous lines. Beautiful split jump into a ring jump. Didn't quite get her head all the way back. The judges want to see you lose complete sight of the beam when you have a skill like that. It makes it that much harder because you're losing sight of the beam and then coming to a good close landing. The crowd is on their feet for Tori Vetter's score coming in at a 9.875. While we're watching this beautiful pike gainer dismount to a stuck landing from the Hawkeyes. While she did have a few balance checks, she finished on top. Beautiful dismount from the Hawkeyes.
That was Alexa Ebeling in her first event of the day. And you mentioned those bobbles, Lexi, when you get a teeter on the beam a little bit. How do you look to try and readjust and keep going through with your routine?
You know, you take deep breaths after a small mistake and then you forget about it and move on. It's done, it's over with, and you can't change it. And that's exactly what she did, and that's why she stuck her dismount. We're going to watch Peyton Harris, this electrifying freshman for the Buckeyes. Opening tumbling pass here with a sky-high double pike. Good chest up on the landing. Again, seeing that show of flexibility through each fingertip and her shuttle position there. Or sorry, her toe tips there, not her fingertips. Front double full to stag jump. It's very difficult to go from an acrobatic skill into a dance skill, and she did it with ease. That's what we're looking for, to make everything look easy, clean, and in control.
Harris at 29.6 in the all-around through her first 3 events.
Out of what would be a perfect 40 if you got 4 10s that day. One last tumbling pass. Front full, front layout, stuck it cold, no lunge needed. She was just that perfect. Huge smile to finish off that routine. The Buckeyes are on their feet.
She had a career-high 39 on Monday in Athens, and closing out her day after another terrific one, just the 3rd meet of her career and the first dual meet.
Incredible powerhouse freshman for the Buckeyes. We're gonna go and watch this last tumbling pass, front full, front layout, stuck. You see her click her heels together to show that control. Incredible. Back to the beam, back handspring, layout, step out, stuck pull. You wanna see the distance go from one end of the beam to the next.
Peyton Harris gets a 9.9 on floor, and that's the crowd reaction you hear.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say. The crowd is on their feet, the home crowd for that powerhouse freshman, and it takes a lot of focus from this Hawkeye team to be able to stay in control on the beam. She's gearing up for her dismount, a 1.5. I don't know if the judges are gonna call that a stick, but it was pretty darn close and in control as she salutes the judges there at the end. She's following a 9.725 from Alexa before her.
And Aubrey Nick follows suit for an Iowa team that is 24th in the country on beam. And here's Claire Gagliardi to tell a story over her career at Ohio State.
Yes, Claire's coming off of 299s, as you can see there on the bottom of your screen. But Claire, the super senior, the 5th year, came to Ohio State just 5 years ago, created a name, and has quite a few fans on this event, and we're gonna watch her story play out here in this next minute and a half.
All eyes on the graduate out of Hubbard, Ohio, coming off a 9-9 on the floor on Monday.
Open her routine with a front layout, front 1.5 to double stag jump. You'll hear some familiar music if you are a Buckeye fan. Paying homage to this Ohio State crowd. Dynamic leaps and that switch side popa. Claire has a very fun way of getting the audience involved. You know, she kind of gets out of her routine for a second and reminds you, hey, this is Ohio State. She's gonna play to the judges there, make eye contact. Finishing with a double pike, stuck landing. Having fun, showing her personality.
She's 3rd in the country on floor.
And that is why.
Claire Gagliardi in the 4 spot of the rotation, embraced on the floor by her teammates and gets a big ovation.
She's a special athlete. Back to the beam for the Hawkeyes. Her teammate before her with a 9.85. A solid score.
Currently right now, Ella Hodges leads the way for Ohio State with a 9.925, but Traquavia Henderson pacing the Hawks with a 9.9.
Yes, and this is the start of a beautiful routine with stuck landings and beautifully executed dance. A balance check there out of that full turn. We talked about this at the beginning of the Buckeyes rotation. Those full turns can get you if you're not careful. But a beautiful front tuck, very difficult. There's no springs in that beam. All leg there for her. Stuck it cold. Beautiful split 3/4. Oh, we saw a small balance check. This was when it's important to note that any good veteran athlete on any sport, stuck landing there, will tell you that when you're this close to a team in score, you are fighting to win. And if you get close to trying not to lose, that's when those balance checks can come out and those little details can get away from you. And the Hawkeyes are doing a great job right now, fighting for every last tenth. Lexi Edwards now on the floor for the Buckeyes.
That career high 9.925 on floor. That was good for 2nd in the meet as well.
It's hard to believe that she's that close to a 10 and still only getting 2nd.
She slows it down here in the rotation.
Shows off her dance skills before she goes full throttle into these tumbling passes. Huge double pike. I'm pretty sure you could get a very tall NBA player to walk right underneath her during that, and she wouldn't even come close to scratching the top of her head.
Similar to the dunk contest.
Oh, right.
You could use it as a prop.
Right. Change of pace here. She gears into her 2nd tumbling pass. 1.5 front layout, stuck. Very fun routine to watch. Excellent jumps. Again, we're looking for that perfection in toe-to-toe, that 180 degrees, and she hit it there. Again, making eye contact with that judge, showing that you're not afraid. One last tumbling pass, double back, stuck. The crowd is on their feet for Lexi Edwards, finishing in what my opinion may be a perfect floor routine. Her teammates are chanting 10. Coach Polisivic is also chanting 10. The crowd is also chanting 10. Tyler, what do you think?
Well, you definitely see Lexi Edwards make that nod to the judges, and then she goes and finishes it off. An exclamation point
Right.
for the senior out of Richmond. We go back over to beam, and it's Adeline Kenlin. Finished second in the country last year at the NCAAs on the beam. This is her specialty.
That it is, and she is absolutely gorgeous to watch. Exceptional, truly. Split jump, split three-quarter. You see her have a smile on her face before her feet even hit the beam. Like, I know I've got this. And that is why she was second in the country following nationals last year. Side aerial into a Sassone. A good mix of acro with dance. Crowd on their feet for a score for Lexi Edwards, which makes this routine all that harder for the Hawkeyes to finish up their rotation.
Still waiting word on Edwards.
Almost a suck dismount there. That was an absolutely gorgeous routine. Wow.
Adeline Kenlin, the anchor on beam.
For the Hawkeyes. Beautiful. There's not much they can take off. While she did have just a tiny bit of a balance check there, to start off their beam rotation as close to perfect as you did with Henderson, and then that to be their closeout, everything else in between is just gorgeous.
And regardless of what happens, Lexi, how big is it to have a meet anchoring performance like that from Kenlin?
It's game changing because you're ending on beam, which is what we talked about, how difficult it is to end on beam is so hard to begin with. However, they're doing it with grace and ease, and that is something that Larissa Libby is probably going to go home when they have their home opener and say, hey, look, now we're going to end on floor, which we're just as good at. And now we're watching Ella Hodges anchor out floor for the Buckeyes.
9.975 from Lexi Edwards. That was the final out of the 5 spot, and now Hodges looks to add to that.
Again, elegant Ella. She has beautiful leaps and jumps. And presentation value on floor is also unmatched. You're seeing a different type of floor routine from her teammates such as Lexi and Claire. However, the performance value is still just as high. While they differ in routines, again, you're going to captivate any sports fan with these types of routines. They're dynamic and fun to watch. One last tumbling pass for Ella here. And a front 1.5 through to layout, step out, sticks it, shows beautiful control. Points to the judges like, I know you saw me.
The meet anchor for Ohio State, and Ella Hodges closes it out on floor.
All eyes were on the Buckeyes closing it out there, but we have one last beam routine for the Hawkeyes. The Buckeyes are celebrating over there after a job well done today. Adeline Kenlin, with a 9.9 to finish out the beam rotation for the Hawkeyes. As we're gonna watch an exhibition routine.
So Ella Hodges finishes with the 9.925, Lexi, on beam to lead the way, get the event title, but then Iowa with Kenlin and Henderson, the 1-2 punch, they add 2 9.9s as well.
Absolutely. We saw a few 9.9s thrown today by the judges, and they were not given lightly. These athletes had to work tooth and nail to earn those high scores. Ella Hodges coming in with a 9.85 for the Buckeyes. While we finish up an exhibition routine for the Hawkeyes, her chest was low a little bit there on her landing, but overall this Hawkeye team has put up some incredible exhibition routines today. The depth is really showing here, and again, those routines are going to go back to the drawing board there at practice, get a few more under their belt, and we might even see these athletes in the lineup in the latter half of the season.
Of course, there definitely is potential to see that down the road, especially when it comes down to tournament time. But Lexi, your takeaways from this meet. Let's start off with Ohio State.
Ohio State had a very great showing today, but starting off on the vault, we're going to talk about those vault landings that weren't quite perfect. Huge dynamic vaults in the air, but they couldn't quite find those landings. That's what they're going to want to capitalize moving forward throughout the meet season. We then go to bars, and we watch them execute some very, very difficult routines with clean landings, and that's the event that they came back on. They were trailing behind Iowa ending the first rotation, and then they capitalized. They just kept going. It's almost like they didn't know they were behind. They did their job and kept moving forward. We want to talk about this Iowa team then also came back and said, hey, we may have been leading off after that first rotation, but we are going to fight as hard as we can to try to knock off this Ohio State team at home, and they came pretty darn close, doing the best that they could today, and they put out a wonderful showing here in the Covelli Center. Wow.
So let's take a look at the leaders before we close here on Big Ten Plus. On vault, Jaquavia Henderson and Linda Zivit both led the entire meet for Iowa with 9.9s, but then the bars, as Lexi mentioned, was the turning point for Ohio State. Nicole Riccardi a 9.95, Colby Miller a 9.925 on a routine on the anchor that could have gone either way. And then you go over to the beam. Iowa closed it out with an emphatic finish, but Ella Hodges took the beam title at 9.925. Kenlin and Henderson for the Hawkeyes added 9.9s, and Peyton Harris right on the cusp of a 9.9 with a 9.875 for the Ohio State freshman. And then on the floor, Lexi, it was another Lexi. Lexi Edwards with a 9.975 that was oh so close to a 10.
That it was, and it's worth noting there that in order for her to get a 9.975, it means that one of the judges actually gave her a perfect 10. Judges can't score in quarter tenths. It's half tenths only. So one of them marked her as absolutely perfect today, and the other one had her at a 9.95, which averages out at that 9.975, which is as close to perfect without being perfect as you can get. Incredible meet here today. We saw some incredible athletes, incredible scorers, and it's only up from here. As we talked about, there were still a few things that each team can do better at.
They will go from here. Iowa will finally return home. They'll take on Minnesota for their home opener on Friday night, and Ohio State, they will look to try and stay undefeated. They'll travel up north to Ann Arbor, Michigan to take on the Wolverines on Saturday afternoon. Peyton Harris was the lone all-arounder. She finishes with a 39.5, and we will finish as Ohio State goes to 1-0 in conference dual meet play with a 197-225 all total score. Iowa with a 196-9 total score. And Lexi, before we wrap up, what do these teams look to try and do going into their next meets and some of the adjustments that they can make coming out of this match?
Number one, they need to go home and celebrate a job well done today. Number two, they need to stay healthy and recover their bodies. It is a very long season, and they are going to look to just get a little bit better each day moving into their next meet.
So as both teams are still awaiting the final results,
We had a little bit of a jump start, right? We got all the numbers ahead of time.
There you go. Was there one gymnast that caught your eye in this meet from both squads?
I think it's worth noting, Jaquavia Henderson, I apologize. I believe that I said her name wrong, and I don't want to do that to the athlete. She is too good to mispronounce her name. Jaquavia Henderson, I apologize. She was a powerhouse today. We watched her do incredible gymnastics today. Such a high-level athlete for Larissa Libby. Incredible to watch. She's definitely anchoring that team for Iowa. And then watching that powerhouse freshman in Peyton Harris, she is unstoppable with a 39.5 all around today. It's so difficult to do, and she did it with a smile on her face all day today.
She finished about 500ths shy, did Harris, of that perfect all-around score with a 39.5. They present the awards.
Good.
Yes. We talked about it all meet long. She carried the weight in the all-around, the only all-arounder for either team. And then Jaquavia Henderson on the flip side for Iowa, as advertised.
Unstoppable.
Especially on the floor and on the vault, as you said, unstoppable. Linda Zivit also added a strong presence as well.
That she did.
One of the better vaulters in the Big Ten as well.
Absolutely. We saw quite a few athletes today that are definitely in contention for national titles, if not, conference titles as well. We're going to see these teams come back together at Big Ten championships to see if maybe that outcome is a little different, see if the Iowa Hawkeyes can overtake Ohio State, or if Ohio State is on track to throw off the reigning Big Ten champs that is Michigan.
And you said at the start of the broadcast as well, Lexi, that we're still in the early stages of the season, even
Yes.
going into the dual meets, but there still is a lot of season left where
Yes.
things will definitely be changing.
Yes, as we're seeing the Hawkeyes be announced as the runner-up to the home team, Ohio State Buckeyes, at a 197.225. There's a lot of gymnastics left in the season to be done. The athletes have to stay healthy and motivated. That discipline has to set in for them to really just capitalize on a job well done today. And moving forward in the rest of the season, gymnastics season is long. They're going to compete every weekend up until championship season. Some of them will compete twice a weekend moving forward. So it is very important that they stay healthy and motivated and confident moving into the rest of this season.
Buckeyes go to 1-0 in conference play. They stay undefeated at 7-0 through 3 meets. 2-5 is what Iowa falls to, 0-1 in the Big Ten, but still a lot of competitions left. Next up for the Hawkeyes will be Minnesota in Iowa City, and for Ohio State, it will be a trip to take on arch rival Michigan. For our entire Big Ten Plus crew, alongside two-time first-team All-Big Ten gymnast Lexi Mattern, I'm Tyler Danberg signing off from Columbus.